In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how to lose 1 pound per week and keep it off. And we're not just going to talk about science, we're going to talk about psychology too. So if you're new to the group, welcome. In the last 10 days or so, we've actually had a ton of new women join this group. And I want all you guys to be able to get all the information and the help you need so that you can break through, regardless of whether you work with me one-on-one or not. So there's going to be two parts to this video. Part one is going to be the science, the what. We're going to answer the question, what do you specifically need to do? The part two is the big part, and that's the psychology of losing the weight and keeping it off. This is going to be the how, and more particularly, how can you sustainably lose the weight and keep it off? Because at the time of shooting this video, over 70% of all women in America have lost weight at some point in their life and gained it all back, and some of them gained even more weight back. So getting straight into it, I want you to think of results and sustainability. If all you do is focus on results, then your sustainability goes away. If all you do is focus on your sustainability, then your results goes away. And your results and sustainability is like a scale that you're constantly trying to balance. Your goal really should find a balance of results and sustainability that's specific to you, your situation, and your lifestyle for long-term sustainable weight loss. They need to be relatively even, where results are happening, but you're also enjoying the process. So let's start with the science of losing 1 pound per week. This is stuff that, with all due respect, you probably already know, but it's always good to hear it again. First off, why does the body store fat? Our body stores fat for the simple reason we're eating more calories than we're using. Your fat is basically a stored energy source, and 1 pound of fat equals 3,500 calories. So if you want to lose 1 pound of fat per week, you need to be in a caloric deficit of 3,500 over the week. That equals 500 calories a day. So if you were to be on a caloric deficit of 500 calories a day every single day for 7 days, you will lose 1 pound per week. But what does this look like for you? First, you have to find out how many calories you're even burning every day. And there are 3 factors that influence that. Number one is your basal metabolic rate, or your BMR. This is basically how many calories your body just burns by default, whether or not you get out of bed in the morning or not. Number two is your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is all the calories you burn just by moving around that are not exercise related. So just fidgeting, walking around, moving your body. Now, number 3 is the calories you burn from your exercise. Now, 2 things that are really important to know. Your calories that you've burned through exercise make up a tiny portion of your overall calories burned throughout the day. This is because your body wants to survive and your body's smart. If you were to want to lose weight and you just go work out real hard and do that for a couple hours every day, it's not like your body's going to burn a tremendous amount of calories and you all of a sudden start burning thousands of calories more per day. If that were to happen, you would literally die. So what happens is your body will burn more calories through exercise, but it'll reduce the amount of calories that your body burns through the NEAT and also your BMR. So it always balances out to the same number every single day. Also, if you just want to skip all the math and find your calories burned, then just go to Google, type in Google calorie calculator. What you're going to have to do is put your age, gender, height, weight, and activity level in there, and it'll give you your numbers. There's a ton of calorie calculators out there, and they're all legit. They're all the same. When you do this, though, take into account that most people overestimate their activity. So if you want to be on the safe side, just put yourself as moderately active. If you have an office job and you work out maybe 3-4 times a week, but throughout the day you sit down, then just put moderately active, because the last thing you want to do is think that you're burning a bunch of calories and then you get on a deficit. In reality, you're not on a deficit at all. So let's go over some unpopular truths when it comes to losing weight. Unpopular truth number 1 is that there is no magic eating pattern for weight loss. You may have heard of intermittent fasting. You may have also had trainers tell you in the past that you got to eat every 2 hours. I used to be one of those when I first became a trainer. I would tell my clients they have to eat every 2 hours to stay in the fat burning zone. But really, all eating patterns work for fat loss. The difference between them is just how sustainable they are. But for results, there's little to no difference. Just pick one, test it, and see how it works for your lifestyle. As long as you're on a caloric deficit throughout the week, theoretically, you can eat your maintenance calories for 6 days and then not eat on the 7th. Or you can eat all your meals in one sitting. You can spread all your meals out to 7 meals a day. Meal timing does not affect fat loss in any meaningful way. There are some benefits to your overall digestion and health overall of eating 2 to 3 times a day only. But if we're just talking weight loss, it's the caloric deficit that matters most. Now, the reason I emphasize this is because many of my clients work long-hour shifts. They often have deadlines and they're not leaving the office till it's done. And sometimes they'll come home and they'll feel guilty for eating at night. But remember, if calories are equal, eating patterns don't matter. And if anything, there's evidence that suggests that when you eat starchy carbs a few hours before bed, it actually elevates your serotonin levels and then helps you sleep deeper. Now, unpopular truth number 2 is that there are no such thing as fat-burning foods or weight loss foods. There are really good foods, and those are usually single ingredient foods. Those foods make weight loss more sustainable, like blueberries, potatoes, lean proteins, fibrous vegetables. All these foods are high volume, low calorie, so you're less hungry. They take up a lot of space, take a lot of effort to eat, and they're lower in calorie. But eating these good foods does not help you lose weight faster. They just keep you full longer. I mean, you could technically eat pastries all day long, and as long as you're in a caloric deficit, you will still lose weight. It'll just be extremely hard to sustain because you'll be extremely hungry all the time, and you'll lose muscle because you probably won't be eating enough protein, and you'll probably have bad breath and bad skin. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because from my experience, many women especially, you love to overcomplicate things, but it really is this simple. What you do need, however, is to eat enough protein so you keep the muscle you have and you will burn more calories when you're at rest. Aim to have 1 gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight. So if right now you weigh 200 and you want to weigh 140, eat 140 grams of protein. And when it comes to your carbs and fats, don't even worry about them. As long as you hit your calories and your protein, your carbs and fats will automatically just fill up the remainder of your calories. And by the way, you don't have to be exactly exact. Remember, this is something you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. Perfectionism is going to hold you back. Trust me. Now, unpopular truth number 3 is that if you are losing weight and you're on a 500 calorie deficit and you're losing more than 1 pound per week, it's very likely you're losing lean body mass. And lean body mass is water, muscle, even bone density, all the stuff that you actually want. So don't get too excited if you're losing more than 1 pound per week on a caloric deficit of 500 calories a day. So many times we get fixated on the number that we'll celebrate losing 5 pounds a week, but if you really think about it, losing 5 pounds in 1 week, you would have to be on a deficit of 18,000 calories. That is literally almost impossible. So the real question is, if you're losing a lot of weight, what else are you losing? You're losing lean body mass. Now, it's okay to lose a little bit here and there, and your weight loss is always going to be a little bit like the New York Stock Exchange. It's going to fluctuate, but that brings me to point number 2 of this video, and this is the important part. We're going to talk about the psychology of losing 1 pound per week. If you've made it this far, then I'm happy. Let's be real. You already knew about caloric deficits, right? You already knew about lifting weight, eating protein. You've heard that probably 10 million times already. Problem is, the reason why 75% of America is overweight right now is because we can't stick to it. So we need to focus on how to make this sustainable for the long term. We need a results plus sustainability driven plan. And this type of plan is harder to cookie cut because what's sustainable for you is often different than what's sustainable for someone else. And this is the number one issue with fat loss. And the reason why, if you post something about fat loss on social media, you're always going to get somebody disagreeing with you. So instead of trying to give you like a standard plan that might not work well for you, I want to share my top methodologies that have helped me transform thousands of women over the last decade sustainably. So next are 3 sustainability secrets. Sustainability secret number 1 is that you have to minimize pain and maximize pleasure. As human beings, we always move towards pleasure and away from pain. It's just how we were built. And the majority of people who want to lose weight think, all right, how do I get the fastest results? Let's go with that plan. They never consider the emotional component that is a part of all of us. Because if you ever get to a point where it's more pain than pleasure, you will stop. There's only so long you can rely on your willpower before you're back to square one again. Plus, everyone always waits for the perfect time to start a plan under perfect conditions when stress is low and things are great. But you already know, even if you're not stressed right now, stress is coming. Like winter is coming. And Lord of the Rings. No, Game of Thrones. I've never even seen Lord of the Rings. Yep. Game of Thrones, I only saw like the first 5 episodes. But anyway, if your plan doesn't have like a buffer between pain and pleasure, you'll stop. That's why you want to start with the actions that are the lowest pain, highest results. This can be as simple as going for short walks after a meal, or drinking more water, or cleaning out your fridge. Whatever your biggest lever is, your easiest action with the best result. Now, sustainability secret number 2 is to reduce the negative feedback loops that you currently have. Now, an example of a negative feedback loop is, for instance, weighing yourself every day. Because if you're doing everything right and you haven't lost weight, then you will feel bad, i.e., you're going to be in pain. Now, you can still do it, but it's very hard not to judge yourself based on numbers. Instead, always judge yourself and your progress based on other factors like your actions, because that's what you have control over. And if your clothes start fitting better, if you start feeling better, then judge yourself based on that. Now, again, everything is individual, right? Some of you watching this might thrive on weighing every day, but I have had dehydrated clients who were doing everything right, and they started drinking more water and they gained weight, but they were losing fat. However, the scale didn't show it. As they then stayed hydrated, eventually they saw the scale go down because their lean body mass capped out and they kept losing fat. So make sure you are creating loops that serve you instead of hurt you. This will keep you more motivated to keep going because you're being rewarded and not punished. The way I like to do this with my clients is, for one, I try to give them daily praise based on their actions, because that's what you have control over. It's very hard to lay into results because you do not directly control results. But if you focus on the behavior and the actions you take, then if you reward certain behavior that is rewarded is the behavior that will get repeated. Now, another way I like to create positive feedback loops is to reframe my client's way of thinking. This way, they can be encouraged instead of discouraged with the result. Let's say you weigh yourself in the first 2 weeks and you've been doing everything right? And it feels sustainable, but you lost 0 pounds. You might feel like you failed, but that's why it's important to reframe your thinking. How do your clothes fit? Perhaps you dropped a size. How's your stress level? Perhaps that came down from an 8 to a 5. And perhaps your energy level went up as well. So why would you let the scale interfere with any of these victories right here? Because the reason you wanted to lose weight in the first place was all those benefits, right? Now, sustainability secret number 3 is, this is huge. You need to play an infinite game and not a finite one. In the finite game, the purpose is to win the game. It's externally defined, where the winner wins the game. With the infinite game, the purpose is to continue playing. And this is huge. This is pretty deep. The only people who break through to sustainable weight loss are those who play the infinite game. Instead of trying to lose 40 pounds as the game, they're actually just trying to sustain 40 pounds lost as the game. Now, you might think that's the same thing, but it's not. If the way you win the game is losing 40 pounds, you're going to play more aggressively. You will sacrifice and probably rely on willpower to get there. In a weird way, it's going to give you pleasure to think that the pleasure is coming. But because you're playing aggressively, your pain will be high as well. And when you do get to the top of the mountain, you're going to feel excited at first, but the pleasure of pursuit goes away. And if your pain is still high, you will very likely experience big time burnout and go back to what you were doing before. And that's assuming that you didn't quit on the way there. But if your goal is to sustain 40 pounds lost, even though you haven't even lost it yet, you will only do things that are sustainable in the first place. You will think in years instead of weeks, months, or even days. Like Claudia. Claudia lost over 30 pounds, is building muscle, definition, and she's eating acai bowls. That's my world famous high protein acai bowl. She's consistently losing weight, with the best part that she's not stopping anytime soon because her pleasure is high and her pain is low. You got to imagine these two scenarios. Scenario 1 is someone who wants to lose 30 pounds in 6 weeks, right? Scenario 2 is someone who will hire a coach and lose a half a pound a week for the next year. So only 26 pounds in a year, which is nothing like that's going to get any likes or clicks on social media. but it's not going to cause a lot of stress. Now, scenario 2 will keep going until she's at her final goal and then maintain it without relying on willpower. Scenario 1 might lose 30 pounds in 6 weeks, but even then, pain will be so high in getting there that it will stay there, making it likely that she will resort back to her old ways. Overall, if you're looking for sustainable weight loss, don't go slow, but go sustainable. Now, of course, all this is a lot sexy than me trying to sell you a magic pill. But if there's anything I've learned and really committed to as a coach for the past 15 years, it is proper strength training is the fountain of youth. Food is the ultimate magic pill, and you have to make it a sustainable lifestyle. You're going to be doing this forever. No sane person is going to live in high pain if they knew they'd be doing it for a long time, unless you're into that kind of thing, which I haven't seen this movie, but I don't know. I don't think men are supposed to watch this movie. But getting back to the point, the things you do to lose the weight are the exact same things you're going to do to sustain it. Now, if you're thinking, yeah, this makes sense, but it's going to be hard to get started again. You're right. It is hard to get started. What you're going to have to do, especially if you're standing still right now, you're going to have to break inertia. Now, if you look at airplanes, right, depending on the length of the flight, airplanes use about 20% of their total fuel just during takeoff. And that's usually only a couple minutes. So getting started is going to require a lot of fuel. So use all the tools you can to break inertia and get yourself started. Number 1, exercise your brain, meaning monitor your own thoughts, because thoughts become things. There are a million books I can recommend about this subject, but my top 2 favorites would probably be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill and Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers is also a good one. And of course, clean up the words that you put into your own mind. Be nice to yourself. Say nice things to yourself. Like this girl right here. I mean, is she a catch? I mean, who knows? Nobody knows. But if she thinks she's a catch, then she's going to walk around like she's a catch. And she's going to turn into a catch. Now, number 2 is to get an accountability partner, maybe a friend or some like-minded people who are pursuing the same things. And of course, my own PCOS Be Gone group, because seeing others win will show your mind what actually is possible. Now, the third tool you can use is just get very, very, very specific about what you want in life. Your mind is like a heat-seeking missile. The more you tell exactly where to go, the easier it'll be for your mind to get there. Now, a bonus method of actually getting started and guaranteeing results is to hire a coach, because you don't have to do it alone. However, a coach is not required. You could do it on your own. It just makes it easier with a coach, with less ups and downs, and most of all, it buys you speed because you will not waste time on things that don't work. But with that said, you might be thinking right now, you're like, yeah, that's all great, but what about the specifics? Like, how can I make my nutrition more sustainable? Here's 3 quick tips that I use in all my clients. Nutrition tip number 1, include your favorite foods. The last thing you want to do is deprive yourself from things you love. You can still eat your favorite foods. You just have to balance them and show some restraint. The way I do this with my clients is to have them make better versions of their favorite foods. I mean, I have clients losing weight, eating burritos, pizza, cookies, brownies, acai bowls. You just have to be smart with the ingredients. And if you do this right, you'll prevent your inner rebel from coming out that just wants to cheat. Because chicken and broccoli, yeah, they're great, but it's hard to eat that every single day, right? Now, nutrition tip number 2 is to choose an eating style that fits your lifestyle. You can eat 2 meals, 3 meals, or even go on 24-hour fasts every week, whatever you want to do, as long as you adhere to the science of weight loss that we just talked about earlier. The main thing you want to get rid of is that perfectionist mentality, trying to get everything perfect. That will never serve you at all. And I see this all the time, where you have people who hit a weight loss goal and they make it a lifestyle. And then you have people who just fail over and over again because they fall off the wagon. The truth is, both of these people fell off the wagon equally. You are going to fall off the wagon. It's just that those who win and make it a lifestyle, they call that falling off the wagon adapting, and they do not tie their emotions into them falling off the wagon. They hop right back on the wagon. Whereas those who fail all the time, they feel bad about falling off the wagon, and they start all kinds of guilt cycles that do not benefit them at all. Those who keep it off simply have different beliefs about weight loss. Now, nutrition tip number 3, prioritize your protein. Eat protein first. This is the most simple strategy in eating better, because protein kills your cravings and hunger, and you will also keep your muscle alive while on a caloric deficit. If you combine that with drinking enough water every day, especially in the morning, you will naturally cut 30% of the calories you were eating before. So, in closing, no matter where you're at right now, you can do this. Grace right here, she was not special. It's not like she had 6 fingers or a special superpower. She was a special individual, but she did it because of her beliefs around weight loss, just like Betsy or Carly or Arcelia or Ruth or Yesenia or Megan or any of my other clients who lost weight and kept it off. They just all embodied the principles we talked about in this video right now, and they played the infinite game, focusing on sustaining the weight loss versus losing it in the first place. So you can do all this. You can lose the weight, and you don't need a coach. Use everything in this group and you will eventually get there. Also, if you need anything or have questions, message me and I could perhaps make a video on it. If you do know though that you want to move faster with less ups and downs and you want to guarantee that you will make this a lifestyle, then message me interested and I'll see if I can help you with one-on-one coaching. With that said, this is obviously a pre-recorded video and I don't know who's going to watch it, but I do really believe anyone can get exactly what it is that they want in life. Success is something you attract by the person you become. You just need the right approach for you, your body, your schedule, and where you're at right now. So use the tools in this group and yeah, let's just start living the good life.